How's it going, YouTube? It's LB Ninja 7, your resident Mistweaver monk. It's very different looking at a camera, but I wanted to make a quick video today and decided that since it's been a while since I've made a video and since I won't have any background gameplay, I'm just going to have a face cam. So hopefully I'm not too ugly or hard to look at, but what the video is about today is as you see on the screen, we have had our Valor cap lifted. Now, as you see, it doesn't say there's a total that you can earn. It just says how much you've earned. What this means for us is we can really start to push our item level basically above 272 at least, and really farm and select the gear that we push up. And it's a big grind, I know, but it's very easy because you just run +2s a lot. I'm sure you guys know how it works, but in today's video, I wanted to kind of go through each of the dungeons and discuss all the pieces of gear that I find to be like our best in slot, or at least close to our best in slot. And then I want to run back through at the very end, so stay tuned, and just kind of discuss my order of priority of kind of the pieces that I'd hunt down first, get those maxed out so that I can start to branch out to other pieces. And hopefully this doesn't take too long, and hopefully you guys learn something out of it. I know that for me it's kind of annoying being like, wait, so what dungeon do I have to run now, and which piece am I farming? And so I figured if you're a lot like me, you'd appreciate having it all in one source. So let's get started. Let's go in alphabetical order. So for the other side, I prefer to stay in Brewmaster loot spec for the other side, just because the Brewmaster trinkets, the Shadowgrass Totem's a great trinket, and it's just damage. But then Blood Spattered Scale, I'm sure you guys know, is absolutely broken. It's very good for tanks. But if you don't flex at all, staying in Mistweaver spec is very good. IQD is a great trinket. It's a 3-minute cooldown that just gives you a lot of power. And it's notably best in slot for Windwalker. So if you're hardcore hunting down IQD, it's not a bad option. It's great in raid. It's probably not our best trinket in raid. It wouldn't be in our top 2, but it would be probably top 5. So it's always a great one to have, and a very sweet trinket, honestly. But then there's also the one-handed weapon that's crit verse for Windwalker and also Brewmaster, and it's best in slot for them too, if you don't count like Pox Storm. But so the next up, that's kind of it for the other side. Just you're hunting down basically gear for other loot specs. But now we have Halls of Atonement, and so we have Nathri Ferula. I don't really know how to say it, but this it is very good. Crit haste is great. It's primarily haste, which is a little weird, but you know, if you're really hard set on two-handed weapons, this is a great two-handed weapon. It gives you crit. Haste is like our third best stat priority, but you know, you're going to have a lot of crit verse items. You might want to kind of like cut down on some crit and, you know, bump your haste up a bit. And this is a great way to kind of tweak those numbers. So that's a great item. The offhand is insane. It's our best offhand. Let me repeat that. It's our best offhand for Mythic Plus. Now, why do I specify Mythic Plus? It's just because it's verse over crit. Now, if it were crit over verse, it would be best in slot for raid. But for Mythic Plus progression, if you're pushing high keys, you want your verse slightly above your crit. It's a little weird, but it just gives you a little bit more damage, more consistency, but most importantly, more tankiness. As you know, crit verse are our two best substats, and they're kind of just interchangeable for the most part, but at the very top level, you're going to want your crit slightly favorable over, your verse over your crit. Those weapons are great. The gloves, let's look at the gloves. They are haste verse. Like I said, verse is insane for Mythic Plus, but then also you'll kind of get to a point where your crit and your verse are like at a great level, but you can start to just tweak your haste up a bit more. It's not like that for Mastery. We don't really care about Mastery. It only gives us healing, but haste alongside high crit and verse can just push our numbers. So it's not a bad glove to go for. Now let's look at the next dungeon. Let's go to Mists. This one's pretty easy. So they have our best wrist, the crit verse wrist, especially for raid, obviously, like I said. But basically, this is just our best in slot wrist. The only issue is if you look at our legendary Ancient Teachings, wrist is just the best slot for that. So I mean, if you're using another legendary, or maybe you crafted this in like another slot, then sure, go for this wrist and mist of Tirna Scithe. But yeah, for the most part, you won't want to grind this one out just because it's going to take the place of that slot. The chest is good too. It's crit haste, but there's a lot of crit burst chests. Mainly the tier piece, which is insane. So not even going to touch on that. Now, if you get to a point where you're crit capped, like there was a point where I was at like 38% crit, and I just like it just had so much diminishing returns that I just wanted to push my verse up more. If you're at that point, crit capped, haste verse belt is very good to go with. However, it's not the best since it's not crit verse. So just if you're at that point, this one's not bad to go for. And then I cannot talk about Mist without talking about Changeling. This is like undeniably just the best healing trinket in the whole expansion. This trinket's insane. It has a great uptime on its passive, and it just gives you can kind of tweak how you get the substat a little bit and have a little bit of control over it. But for just no matter what you get, it's just a big juicy stat stick of a trinket. So it's just great to get. It is in the top 2 probably for raid. The thing about Mistweavers, we have a lot of great raiding trinkets. So it's kind of hard to pin down the order of like probably the top 3, but you can't go wrong with any combination of the 2 of the top trinkets for us. So it's definitely up there. So definitely grind out your Changeling. You won't regret it. It's great. And it's a passive. We love our passive good abilities that we don't have to click a button for. So yeah, so that's Mr. Tirna Scithe. Let's go to the next one, Plaguefall. Now, Plaguefall, personally, I like to stay in Windwalker loot spec just because just like the other side, the trinkets and the weapon here are so good for Windwalker that it's kind of good opportunity cost to stay in that. So yeah, as you see, as Mistweaver, we do not get a trinket or a weapon. So all we get is just base monk gear. Now, if you want any of these pieces, which I'll go ahead and start with those, the cape. The cape is the only thing notable haste first. So if you're crit cap, this could be a great cape. I'm good at speaking apparently because I'm impressing myself. But yeah, but other than that, this cape, it does get outshined by, like, I think there's a good cape in the raid that outshines this cape. That's crit verse. And there's another crit verse cape. So, but if you're at that point crit capped and you need to kind of tweak some numbers, this could be a good option. But I like to stay in Windwalker spec, like I said, because Poxstorm is technically the best weapon because it does proc damage, and it's better. Even though like Windwalkers don't really use haste or mastery as much as crit burst, this does just proc a lot, and it does a good bit of damage. But then also infinitely divisible ooze, guys. This is a great DPS option for even Mistweaver. So I would highly recommend just coming in with this loot spec and going for infinitely divisible ooze. If you're struggling with your damage and Mythic Plus, this is a great DPS option. I would personally say that this is our top 3 Mythic Plus trinkets. Infinitely divisible ooze, I would personally put it at number 3. However, the second best one was only available during time walking, and that was Faulty Countermeasure. But this is just right underneath it. This is a great option, especially in single target. It just spawns a dude that just shoots bolts that deal damage. So it's a good way to get passive damage. But then also File. I'm sure you know File. It's best for Windwalker. It's just a good damage trinket. It's not as good as it used to be, but if you look at top parses on, like, let's say, Artificer Zymox, they use File for the most part, that and IQD. So yeah, that's Plaguefall. Let's go to Sanguine Depths. I'll try to speed it up a bit. What am I doing? Sanguine. Now, I know right off the bat they have a crit verse trinket, or a chest, before I even look at my notes. But the tier piece in chest is crit verse, and it's a lot of verse. So I would probably just not even farm this. I would just hold off and get this. Unless you get this, like, any 278 chest in the vault, you can always just trade it in for that. Which is another point that I don't even think I touched on. But now that we have the Creation Catalyst, any of these pieces that you push up, you can just turn it into whatever the raid equivalent is. So keep that in mind with a lot of these pieces. If you get like a great, like, juicy leech socket item, like this belt, you can just Creation Catalyst into, whatever slot it is, and yeah, do it that way. But okay, so I talked about the chest. It's not as good as the tier piece, but let's see, what else does Sanguine Depths have? Oh yeah, the ring is Biss. This ring is crit verse. It's insane. I'm sure you guys have probably struggled farming it because Sanguine Depths isn't the most fun to farm, but this ring is very good. However, I will say that there are some great rings, like you can even not get a crit verse ring. You can get like I have a haste verse ring, I think, and it's just as good. But this ring is insane. Let's see. There's I was like 2 good raid trinkets. No, that's the wrong place. So the weapon, I do remember this weapon. Haste verse. It's a lot of haste. It's a good bit of verse. Just same thing as earlier. If you're crit capped, this could be a good substitute for the best crit verse weapon. Also, there isn't a good one-hand crit verse weapon, so this is a good option for your one-hand main hand weapon. But that's Sanguine Depths. It's honestly not that exciting. That chest, before tier existed, that chest was like insane, but nowadays it's just outshined. So now we're at Spires. I'm sure you guys know, the massive crit stick of this neck is insane, and it also gives verse, but just the crit alone makes this neck just nutty. So this neck is best in slot, bar none. As you see, I'm not using it because, like I said, I got that crit cap, and just finding a great haste verse neck kind of really helped me adjust my numbers. But if I get this necklace, I probably would use it, especially if it had like a tertiary stat like Leech or something like that. And then I will just briefly touch on these legs. They're good. Haste and a big chunk of verse, but the pants that are tier are crit verse, so you'd probably just replace those anyway. So it's probably not worth it grinding those, but that neck is what you would be grinding Spires for. Let's go to the next dungeon, Tazavesh. I'm just going to lump it all together. Tazavesh has a lot. The offhand is you know how I said the crit verse would be best in raid? Well, let's see. The offhand here. Did I miss it? Let's go to the right loot spec. Why don't we? Offhand, I think it's this one. Yes, big juicy crit and then a little bit of verse. This is our best in raid. It's also just like right up there in Mythic Plus. This just, if you get this out of the vault, it's just take it. Like obviously you take it. But if you get it, if you can push it with Valor to 272, not bad at all. It's very good. There's a lot for Tazavesh. I'm having to look at my notes. The neck is the one that I have, the haste verse necklace. You get this from, that one hand, or the offhand, you get from, I don't even know the name of the bosses, but I do know this is Gambit. The necklace is Gambit. But it's huge haste. No crit, which normally your neck is a good source of crit, like the Spires necklace, but huge haste. If you need to adjust your numbers in a big way, this is a great way to do it, and a good bit of verse. This one's good too. This necklace is very good. Big, just like last, big crit, a good chunk of haste. So if you need to shift around your numbers, that's a good way to do it. Let's see. The legs are good. I think they're crit verse too. Yeah, big crit, small verse. So, but it still just gets outshined by tier. Honestly, the tier legs are great. Stay with those. Haste first ring. Oh, it's this one. This ring is very good, but it's kind of even with haste first. I personally don't like this ring as much as our other options. We have some great ring options, so I probably just steer away from this one. But if you need a good ring, this is not bad. If you have one in your bags and just want to spend a little Valor on it, I would not regret it on this ring. And then finally, I cannot not talk about these trinkets. They're both insane. These are 2 of our best trinkets. Earlier I misspoke. I said there's like 3 top ones. There's 4, and these are 2 of them. This one, just whenever you heal someone, it might splash a little heal around them, just extra, which is insane. You know how many buttons we press in raid, how many hots we have rolling, so we just get very juicy heals from this. And then Solea's secret technique is a stat stick. We buff ourselves in our party based on our highest secondary stat, so ours will be most of the time crit. So and everyone loves crit, so it's just good. These are both passive, very good passive trinkets to use. Oh, actually you have to use this before the fight. I'm sorry, but yeah, most of the time, or mainly this is passive. Just good HPS trinkets. Let's get these last 2 over with really quick. Necrotic Wake. We have actually quite a bit. I actually really have gotten to where I like Necrotic Wake. So this one hand is probably our best one hand option. Big crit, small haste. There's no, like I said, there's no crit verse one hand, so this is, you kind of have to choose one of the 2 best ones, and this is probably our best one. Big crit is very nice. And then we also have these shoes are our crit verse option. Big verse, which I love personally for Mythic Plus, but it's also good in raid. best in slot shoes. If you need shoes and you don't have your Unity on them or your Legendary, this is a great option. And then last, this ring. I think this ring's good too. Yeah, haste first if you need haste first, but this one, big verse, small crit. This is our best in slot, along with the Sanguine Depths ring. But you know, you can always get this ring and be just as happy. As you see, I'm using that ring, so just a good way to shift stats around. That is Necrotic Wake. And finally, Theater of Pain. I'm going to go ahead and start off while I read my notes. We got Soul Eating Ruby. This is the fourth of the four big raid trinkets. It's insane. It is so good. It just, you zap it with some, you just zap whatever your target is, and it'll heal you for a nice little chunk. That's not even the best part. It just gives you a shit ton of crit. I'm sorry, but like, it gives you so much crit. About 1,000 crit. Let's see, 30% of my crit is, or 31% crit is 800. But imagine getting a big juicy 934 crit. My crit would go up to like 80% if this ruby was max. So it's just, you just pop this and it's on a 1.5 minute cooldown. Oh, I'm sorry, they nerfed it. It's on a 2 minute cooldown, which lines up great with new Fallen Order. So you just pop, you keybind it to your Falling Order, and all of a sudden you have like nearly max crit during your Fallen Order. It's so good. Very good for Mistweavers, even despite the nerfs on it. Such a good trinket. So let's go ahead and run through some of these best in slot options now that we've done all the dungeons. I would start off first getting a good set of trinkets, and I would pick 2 from the 4 that I've listed. You have the 2 from Tazavesh. These are great in raid if you get either of them. I think it's the Healing Distributor is from Streets, the other one's from Gambit. But get those. Those are great in raid, okay? But then I would get, as my second trinket, I would just straight up get Unbound Changeling. Miss of Tirna Scithe is such an easy dungeon, especially on fortified weeks. Just get this, level it up, and that should be your 2 raid legendaries. Now, if you want to replace one of those 2 with an unused trinket, I would go with the Soul Eating Ruby. It is just, it's dumb. It's very good. But if you wanted to just keep it simple and keep all of your trinkets off use, then or just equip, then I would go with either one of the Tazavesh and Soul Eating. But I would get those first, and then I would start to look at my Mythic Plus trinkets. If you're a big Mythic Plus grinder, and I would say that I would probably still go with Unbound Changeling as one of them, just to be safe. It's just such good throughput, and it's great uptime, and it's, you can never have too much stats, like secondary stats. But then I would probably grind the Plaguefall trinket. I don't even have the... You have to go to Windwalker spec, or I think you can get it from Brewmaster. Yeah, but it's just, it's good damage, and you need damage in Mythic Plus to really push keys as a healer, which is dumb, but whatever. Now, I will say this trinket here, I know we're making a video about Mythic Plus, but this is our best Mythic Plus trinket, Resonant Reservoir, and we can't even loot it as monks. You have to rely on like your druid healers to go to balance loot spec to heal it for us, or to loot it for us. But it just does big damage. But our next best option that we can actually grind ourselves is Infinitely Divisible Ooze. Other than that, I think I said I would get Changeling, or you can go with Ruby from Theater of Pain. That big crit chunk that you get can add up to some good damage too. You know, you come up to a big pack, you pop Ruby, get a bunch of crit, and just spinning crane kick, and very good. So those are the trinkets. Then I would go with my weapon. I would probably say, where was the good weapon? I'm so stupid. I would probably grind this Halls of Atonement. Halls of Atonement is the easiest to grind. It's very quick because it's just a quick dungeon, and you can get this really quick. And then I would get that main hand from, where was it? Sanguine? Yeah, I would get... No, it's not Sanguine. The Sanguine one's good. It has a lot of verse, but I think it's... Where was it? Oh, it's Necrotic Wake. I knew that. So I would go Necrotic Wake for your one hand. Hopefully you get a weapon from the vault, but you can't rely on that too much. And I would probably say with 2, like a main hand, off hand. But if you need if you like 2 hands, go with the Halls of Atonement, Ferula. I don't know. But from there, I would probably so you have your weapon, you have your trinkets. Those are the big intellect pieces. I would go with I would not push the tier slots since you're hoping to get those from raid, and then in an ideal world. But if you need tier pieces, honestly, just get those from either raid or the creation catalyst. So I'm not going to even touch on those. But I would go with rings next. Now the best in slot ones are from Necrotic Wake. This has 2 of our best in slots. You can honestly just use these 2 and be totally happy. Or you can replace this Stitch Flesh's Misplaced Signet or Signet. I don't even know how that's said. With the Sanguine Depths ring and be bissed out. Be awesome. And then from there, I would go with boots and belt. And I'm actually going to... Oh, and necklace. Boots, belt, and necklace. So the boots are from Necrotic Wake. These are so good. Last season I got ones with Leech and was very happy. The belt, where was the belt from? The belt. Theater of Pain. Crit Burst belt. Can't go wrong. I actually got one with I think I got it with the Leech. And then I just used the vault little tokens to put a socket on it. So that's insane. But then necklace, I would go with the Spires of Ascension one. About 9 times out of 10, but if you're like me and you're just so crit capped, then you can always go with the Tazavesh one. So that's this video. Hopefully you liked it, and hopefully you guys start to push up your item level. I know I'm still kind of lagging behind. 275 is good, but the other healers in my guild have been there for a little bit of time. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. I have a couple other videos that I've recorded, and I need you guys to give me some input. I have one video that I recorded that I'm kind of debating whether I post it or not. And let me just give you the rundown. So I did my own plus 21 mist key. I put it up on queue, and a professional player signed up for it. And I got to play with the professional player. He was in my key. I didn't get to talk to him or anything. He was kind of streaming, doing his own thing. But I later went back and watched his VOD and talked over it, and I think it's a fun video, and it's a different perspective of a Mythic Plus key. You don't get to see it from my point of view, but you get to see it from his, and I think he only talked about me once, so I mean, I don't think I did anything wrong, per se, so let me know if you want to see that video. I have it recorded, ready to post, but I'm kind of nervous about posting it unless you guys want to see it, so let me know how that sounds. And then also, dude, just smash that subscribe button. It helps me out so much, and I'm this close to, being able to quit my job and do YouTube full time, which I know we're still technically pretty far away from that, but to you guys, all you have to do is hit that subscribe button, and that's how close we are. So just go ahead and smash it and get that over with, and just like the video, and let me know what you thought of this video. If there's any pieces I missed out on, or any trinkets that you guys love that I did not mention. And thank you so much for watching. I love making videos, so I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.